Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Sports Illustrated beat writer covering the Las Vegas Raiders, along with my assistant beat writer, the great Zeke Trezevant. Zeke was with me tonight here at practice, down at the field, and in the locker room. Man, we got a lot to talk about. This is our training camp update number 22. And Zeke, I got to tell you, I've been to every single one of these practices, the scrimmages, the games. It was, I believe, tonight, not perfect, not pretending that it was, but the most impressive offensive practice of the preseason. I'd love your analysis.
Yeah, listen, they look good. They look impressive was the word, and a lot of those guys out there look crisp. You can tell they've been putting in the work. You can tell that they're understanding fully what it is that Luke Getsy wants to do, and they look prepared as they should be for this point in the offseason.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. Zeke, one of the things that stood out to me, and we're going to talk about a lot, but let's start with Aiden O'Connell. I think both quarterbacks had a good day. I don't think either one was, Ken Stabler, but they both had an excellent day. But I think clearly tonight, Aiden O'Connell was the better quarterback, in my opinion, dropping dimes to Devontae, dropping a couple of them to Jacoby Myers. There was just a lot he did. Not perfect, but no interceptions. He protected the football. I thought it was a great performance by Aiden with what he's done. Your thoughts?
Completely agree. In terms of Aiden tonight, everything that I saw, I mean, he looked crisp out there. The passes that he was throwing, right on the money. Whether you're throwing long, mid, short, he was right on the money almost every time. Right, he had his bad passes like every quarterback does, but for the most part, he looked like he's ready to go. He looked like the starting quarterback to me, in my opinion. It didn't matter who he's throwing the ball to. If it wasn't basically either a Raiders receiver was going to come down with it or it was an incomplete pass. He almost never put the ball in danger. And more than anything, his accuracy. You couldn't deny the accuracy he showed tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. You couldn't deny it. You know, there's a portion of Raider Nation that's always looking for the negative. I talked about what I thought was the best play Aiden made tonight. He's rolling to his right, and Max is all over him. And he's able to escape. He uses his mobility, goes to the right, gets rid of the ball, and no sack, no interception, nothing. And I put it was an amazing play. And somebody on Twitter said, "Well, to be fair, you knew Max wasn't going to get him." And I'm thinking to myself, you clearly aren't here because Max goes up and smacks him. He wants to get him. He was in full pursuit. Some people just looking for anything to be negative about. I thought it was the best play he made all night because it preaches to what AP wants, which is ball security.
Yeah, so in terms of that play specifically, and I even mentioned this to you while watching it, there was a play where that same play where Aiden was running, and you can kind of see he almost let up a little bit, and then he started running again. Like I might want to get out of bounds and get rid of this ball before Max actually tries to hit me, and he kind of looked back at Max like like relax. But yes, I do think that was one of the best plays of the night for him. Obviously, the pass to Devontae was a nice pass as well. And in terms of people wanting to be negative, I will remind people the first 8 games what was happening last season in terms of, hey, sometimes all anybody wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to do was throw the ball away, right? We don't need you to throw an interception. We don't need you to try to make the superstar pass. Just don't turn the ball over. And that's what Aiden does well.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So let's talk about Devontae tonight. I thought he struggled last night with some drops, which is understandable. He'd been gone for quite a time for camp and should have been with his family. That's not a question of thing. But tonight, he was on the money. He looked to be in midseason form. I would love your thoughts on Devontae.
I mean, he looked like he was ready to go. Devontae looks like what you expect Devontae to look like. It looked like he had the familiarity with the offense. He looked fluid. He looked smooth. I don't want to say he was trying to prove a point necessarily, but he looked like he was prepared, especially for the coming off the time off that he just had. So Devontae looks like he's ready to go.
Zeus. Zeus just continues to be Zeus. Down in the locker room, I'm going to have this video probably tomorrow. But I was spending time visiting with Andre James and Dylan Parham, who've had great camps. And I said, how nice is it to have a running back that's not going to dance? You do your job, he gets through the hole. He's going to be a workhorse for this offense.
Yeah, Zamir looks, he looks like he's slimmed down a little bit. He looks a little bit quicker, but he looks just as powerful, right? That's the beauty of it. And you hit it right on the head. Zamir is
Good
going
night.
to hit the hole. Once he sees it, once it pops up, he's running right into it. He's going to put his foot in the ground and he's going to cut the ball upfield. And he's going to either make guys miss or they're going to bounce off of him. So, the beauty of what Zamir does is that it might not always be glamorous, but you'll look up and he's rushed for 3 yards on that carry. He fell forward for an extra yard. Now it's 4 yards on that carry. Any running back that's averaging 3, 4, 5 yards a carry, I mean, you can't really ask for more than that.
Let's talk about Jack Jones. I mean, the guy's had a great camp. But there was that one of those touchdowns tonight where Devontae got him turned around. Now, let's be fair. Devontae's got a lot of great players turned around. And the way Aiden's patience, you were with me yesterday when Devontae mentioned Aiden's ability to put a ball in the air before somebody even makes a cut. And he did, and Aiden waited and then makes the throw. Devontae gets past Jack, and it was right there. That's the stuff Devontae was talking about, is it not?
100%. There's certain things that you can't teach in terms of the game itself, but especially at quarterback. And that's one of them, right? You can't, and especially in the NFL, you're not going to be able to wait for the receiver to get out of his break to throw the ball every time. You won't make it very long in the NFL if you're that kind of quarterback. And Aiden, in the preseason game and again tonight, there were multiple times where he's putting it on the receiver before the receiver is even looking for the ball. I believe Trey Tucker also mentioned something along those lines in terms of his long catch in the last preseason game. Like, hey, Aiden threw it up there and I turned around and I saw it. So Aiden, you can tell he's understanding everything the exact same way he should be understanding it. And more times than not, he's making the right read. And that's the impressive thing about what I've seen from Aiden.
I agree with you. So let's talk about the quarterback battle. I don't think it's settled. I think if one of these guys has a great game against Dallas and one doesn't, I think it could clearly still be determined. But if I had to go today based on everything we've seen and everything we know, I think it's going to be Aiden O'Connell. We're not reporting that as done because it's not, but I think it's going to be Aiden. I'd love your thoughts.
I believe it's going to be Aiden as well, just based off of the play. I think there's a certain level. You can't underestimate the fact that he's familiar with most of the guys on the field. You cannot underestimate that. And I think that's a large part of the difference that we're seeing between Aiden and Gardner is just a little bit more familiarity with the offensive line, with Devontae, with the other receivers. Aiden has 9 games under his belt with most of the players on the offense, and Gardner doesn't. And that goes for a lot in the National Football League. So, and then you add that to the fact that Aiden just looks good. Right. He looked good in the preseason. He's looked good in practice. He's making the throws he's supposed to make. He's getting rid of it when he's supposed to get rid of it. You mix that with, how well he knows the players. He looks like the starting quarterback to me.
Yeah. And the thing I think that stood out, let's give both quarterbacks a lot of credit tonight. No turnovers.
None.
And this was a big stage. There was a lot of people here. Both guys were trying to make some throws. And the fact that no turnovers, that's what AP's looking for. That's his love language, ball security.
100%. And again, like you cannot. Sometimes you got to look back to kind of look forward. And I said it a moment ago, but think about how bad the turnovers were last year from the quarterback position and just how ill-advised most of them were and how much it hurt the team. That you cannot turn the ball over in this league. And I'm sure the Raiders are making that a big deal again this season.
I've been reporting all camp. Jakobi Meyers is the best offensive player on this team, and it's not close. Tonight, you just saw perfect routes, his handling of the ball. I mean, those of us that are close to this team have known Jakobi's good, but to me, he is going to come out on the national stage and like Superman, Clark Kent walking out of a phone booth. Here I am. I mean, your thoughts on Jakobi?
Impressive. He's gotten better from last season. And like you said, I mean, almost every time he looked up, anytime he's catching the ball, he's almost wide open almost every time, right? And that's because of how well he's running his routes. He's understanding what the defense is trying to do in comparison to what he's trying to do, and he's making the most out of it. You consider that with the fact that the Raiders have so many different offensive weapons. I think Jakobi might be the biggest beneficiary of all of those weapons because you can't cover everybody. You're going to look up and then Jakobi's going to be right there. He's going to be wide open. So I'm expecting a big season from him. He had a great season last year. He was almost a 1,000-yard receiver. Had he not missed that game with an injury, he would have been pushing 1,000 yards last year. And I think he might hit that mark this year.
All right. I want to talk about two guys we've not talked a lot about in camp, and they haven't had bad camps. I'm not implying that. But for us to talk about guys, they either have to exceed or, not exceed expectations. If they're just having the camp we expect, that's kind of what we expect. I thought two linebackers tonight had a really good night. Luke Masterson delivered the boom on one guy. And I thought Divine Diablo, he had a really good night tonight. He seems super fluid. His hips, I don't think he was injured, but I've wondered about the hips a little bit. I thought he looked good tonight. Love your thoughts on the linebackers.
No, I agree. Masterson, specifically, again, improved from last season. And in terms of his speed, in terms of his build, right? He looks like he's a little bit bigger from last offseason. And just the way he flew to the ball, right? In terms of his flow to the ball as a linebacker, he was all over tonight. Divine, taking another step. He's taken steps over the last 2 seasons, and you can kind of see that development again this offseason. So expecting a big year specifically from Divine. Masterson does still have some, he's got something to prove this upcoming season, and you can tell he knows it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I want to talk to you about an issue you and I were talking about in the press box, but I think it's a very big one. Special teams. I am excited about the new kickoff rules. I never thought I'd ever say that. And I think the way the Raiders are approaching this is going to be good. I think the Raiders are going to have a definite advantage. You heard AP before practice talk about, I want us returning kicks. I want us returning punts. I thought this was a very fascinating, and you and I talked about it a lot tonight. I think you're going to see the Raiders have a clear advantage in kickoff returns.
Yes, I think the new rules benefit different teams more than they do others, and I think the Raiders are one of those teams that it can benefit the most because they have the skill positions that, in terms of running backs, in terms of fast guys, whether they're on offense or defense, that if they catch that ball, they can make a move, and next thing you know, they're at the 35-yard line, they're at the 40-yard line. I think what AP was essentially trying to say is that they want to use, especially this year with the new kickoff rules, they want to use the kickoff as an extension of the offense. Right? Because if the offense is quote unquote the weak link out of the offensive defense, why not? Hey, let's try to get a little bit further down the field to start the drives. Right now, you're starting to drive at the 35-yard line or the 37 or the 40-yard line. That's a huge difference than starting your drive at the 25-yard line. Right? That's a big difference, especially when you start building those drives up over a game and over a season. That's a huge deal. So I think the Raiders know that this works out in their favor perfectly, and it helps their offense out a lot. And the next thing you know, guess what? Their defense doesn't have to do as much. Right? So it all plays into each other. And I think if the Raiders do this right, they put the right guys back there to return the kicks. And especially, like I told you, right, if they're catching that ball out of the air and not letting it bounce, oh, man, good luck. Good luck. I think that plays right into their hands.
All right, let's change directions a little bit. AP talked before practice tonight. I think it's important. He said a lot. Kolton Miller is, I thought this was funny. So I've been reporting since camp started. If this had been game week, Kolton would have played.
Yeah.
And that's been throughout camp. I've heard that there's literally nothing to worry about. And somebody asked him about Kolton and is it really not that big a deal? And he just kind of smiled. We put that video up and that interview up. People can go watch for themselves. I mean, I like the way they're approaching. They know Kolton is one of the best in the league. They know there is no reason to rush this. He's fine. They're getting a lot of work for some young guys. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I just don't think there's any concern about Kolton. And to me, it's just not a big deal at all. And his smile kind of gave it away. You were sitting next to me. What are your thoughts?
I mean, some players don't necessarily, their play and their play over the last couple of years speaks for itself, and Kolton is one of those. And then he's so important to the team that there's no need to have him out there unnecessarily, right, beforehand, when you pretty much know what you're going to get from him. And you got to also consider, hey, this is going to give those younger guys behind him a chance to develop, a chance to get some repetitions in that they normally would not have gotten. So it helps you build your depth as well along the offensive line. Last season, the coaching staff, both coaching staffs talked multiple times about how, hey, you might not get the same 5 guys on the offensive line at any given time, on a game day, right? You never know which mix you're going to get. So let's have everybody prepared. So there's a good and a bad to Kolton being out, but it's 99% good. He's going to be back soon. But it also allows you to build out that depth behind him.
Now, additionally, AP confirmed a lot of our reporting, which I thought was very fascinating. Not fascinating our reporting, but he confirmed it when we kept saying the more JP Jackson Powers Johnson misses, it puts him at risk from just being a starter, which is where they thought he would be day one. He's gonna be back this week, and we're not expecting him to even be playing week one. I don't think it's a big deal because Cody Whitehair has been amazing. But again, our reporting was accurate. The longer he misses, the more behind the eight ball he is. He's back now. He's off the PUP. He was wearing a red jersey, but certainly that was disappointing, not in him, but just disappointing the way the injury happened. So he didn't get to be ready for week one. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely disappointing because I mean, by all accounts, anybody and everybody, we all thought that Jackson was going to be the starter, but he's just on the opposite end of the spectrum of where Colton is at, right? Colton can afford to miss time. Jackson as a rookie offensive lineman, you can't afford that for whatever reason, right? Whether it's your fault or not, you can't afford to miss that time, especially at such a critical position as an offensive lineman. And then like you said, you have Cody Whitehair, who's been playing very, very well. He also has the experience that Jackson does not have. And that kind of takes the starting position away from Jackson, at least early in the season. So that's not to say that Jackson won't get there over the next couple of weeks or over the regular season, but to start the season, you got to put the guys that have been out there, out there first and has the most experience, which is going to be Whitehair in this situation.
All right. Now, keeping to your language, I'm learning you kids' language. Let's keep it 100. Let's take the fans inside the locker room where you and I spent a lot of time tonight. I talked to both quarterbacks. I talked to Andre James and Dylan Parham. I talked to Matthew Butler. I talked to Tyree Wilson. I talked to Byron Young. And Max got a little salty when I talked about how good the offense played. We're going to have to watch the film. That's why I laughed, not mocking the person that tweeted at me, but these guys are competitive. They don't want the offense, out there doing good because that means that they didn't. I like that little saltiness tonight that the offense put in their mouth. Hey, we got your number tonight. I like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the major differences, from the team this season compared to last season, especially early on. You can tell that these guys, when they say that they are competitive and that they compete at everything, they're not just giving you lip service. They literally compete at everything. Something that we might think is a meaningless practice or a meaningless exhibition game. These guys are considering every rep. They want every rep to go their way. So I think it just helps them out in terms of on game day, right? That competitive fire. So that way, when Sunday rolls around, that's not the first time your competitive juices have gotten flowing. You've been competing all offseason, all practice, all week. That way, Sunday is just it's another day for you. So I like it. I like the difference between those guys. You can tell they have a little bit of an edge to them that they didn't have last year to start the season. So it's going to be interesting to see.
All right. Let's talk about who'd you talk to in the locker room? What stood out to you?
Yeah, talked to Jacorian, caught up with Nathan Peterman for a quick second. Also talked a little bit with Jack Jones, caught a little bit of that one. Those guys are just locked in. They are focused. Business-like mentality is what I got from them. Specifically, though, Jacorian Bennett. Obviously, he had an up and down season last season. I asked him, hey, what was the biggest thing that you learned from that up and down season that's going to help you out this year? And he basically just said, hey, stop thinking, right? Just go out there and play your game, do what you do. And that, I really felt him on that because that's where he's at right now, right? There's no denying the talent. And that was another thing Jacorian said is he knows that he has the talent. He's just got to go prove it. So I'm excited for him going into this season to see what he's going to do. If he has a good season, this defense is going to be next level.
I got to remind you when we're done taping to tell you who, but I had one of the players ask me tonight, hey, where's the defensive lineman, the defensive end?
Right here, baby. Don't get me started.
Because we have so many new people watching. Zeke is a very little human being. He's not big at all. And but he loves to tell people in high school he played defensive end. And so we tease about it on the podcast a lot.
I've got to say, Hondo, not to cut you off. I've got to say, not to cut you off. Listen, I'm a little human being by National Football League standards, okay? Like anywhere else outside of the NFL, I'm okay, all right? But if I'm standing around 6'5" guys who are 275 pounds and they run a 4.40, like I'm sorry, I'm a regular human being, guys.
Now, wait a minute. I don't play in the National Football League, and I think you're a little human.
I know, but Hondo, you're a large human being as well, though. Like you're the same size as the guys in the locker room.
Me and Dylan and Andre were talking about that tonight. All right. So big practice tomorrow, and then take a day off and they play Dallas. Let's talk about this for a minute. I think there's a lot to talk here. So, in the words of Max, who taught me this, let's chop it up. Um, I think this team is ascending. I think they're finding their sea legs. Uh, I don't think San Francisco matters. I really don't. The game, they're going to know who the roster is. There may be one guy or two, but it's really irrelevant. This team right now is doing what you want. It's peaking coming into training camp where they are 3 weeks in. I think it's pretty exciting. Love your thoughts.
Yeah, I listen. I don't want. I'm sorry. I completely agree with you. Basically, like I do think that they are right where they're. And AP said this. They are right where they need to be for where they are in the off season. Right. They're not. This is not week one. They still have 2 preseason games left. Right. So they're still on the ascension heading into week one. I think to a certain degree, these guys are ready for week one. I do. And also talked to Robert Spillane a little bit tonight. I think they're ready for week one. And just from talking to Robert, I asked him, I said, hey, how do you prepare for a divisional game? And he literally said, prepare for it like it's your Super Bowl, right? And I think he's saying that because that's how they all feel. Not necessarily that week one is their Super Bowl, but they're ready to start a new season. They're ready to kick off the new season. It's been months of talk. It's been months of preparation. It's been months of, practicing against their own teammates. These guys want to go hit somebody for real. Not a preseason game. Not a preseason. They want to go play for real. So I think they're ready. I think they're excited. I think they're hungry. I think they're upset. I really do. And I think they're motivated. So come week one, should be fireworks for those guys.
All right, I'm going to throw this out there because I think it's a big deal. And I think it's a very big deal. They're very angry at what a lot of media have said, predictions, comments. And I had somebody a fan ask me this, and I thought it was a great question. They said, how come you guys at SI seem so positive and others seem negative? And I don't read everybody else, so I can't comment on anyone else. I don't think we're overly positive or overly negative. After 20 games, I went after Josh McDaniels because he deserved it. I just think our reporting doesn't come from a negative or a positive. We just report. And right now, I don't think it's fair to make it sound to Raider Nation like this franchise is in a pile of horse poop. I think they're not a Super Bowl team. I still stand by my prediction. I said 10 wins. I think they're still going to get to 10. I think that gets them in the playoffs, but do or not is irrelevant. I mean, it isn't irrelevant, but the point is, I think they're that team. I just think we live in Realville and we're realists. There's a lot of good players on this team. This is a talented roster. I've not seen anything, Zeke, that takes me off of my 10-win prediction. No, I don't remember. I'm not at my office. But what did you predict? And has anything moved you off of your prediction?
Yeah, I don't recall exactly what I predicted, but I'm pretty sure it was right around that 9 or 10 win range. Basically, another win or two from what they won last year, because last season they just had the ball not bounce their way for a couple of those games. And I always bring it up, but that Minnesota game comes right to mind. Like, one bounce of the ball a different way, that's an extra win right there. So I think this season they're going to get those extra. They're going to steal a couple of those wins this year.
I agree.
But in terms of the negative or positive, I think a lot of people forget that you don't have to go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl for it to be a productive season. Like all you have to do is be better than you were the last year. You got to make progress. This is a long-term thing that they're trying to build here. So this is not a Super Bowl or bust team, right? They get to 10 wins, they get a playoff game. What more can you really ask for in the first full year underneath AP? So I think to your point, we're pretty much straightforward with everything. Whether it's good or whether it's bad. And honestly, sometimes it is bad. It stinks to have to report the bad stuff, but that's our job. So I think we do that to a pretty good clip. So I'm excited for the upcoming season. I think most people should be. A lot of the things that went wrong last season were corrected going into this season. So with every team sitting at 0-0 and the Raiders actually putting in that work this offseason, I don't see why there's any reason to be anything but positive.
I think that first game down at Allegiant South, taking on the Chargers, the Bolts, this team's ready right now. They're ready to go. They're just ready to go attack the season. I think that's going to be a statement game for the Raiders. I think they're going to go down there and win that football game. I think they're going to punch them right in the face. I think it's going to be a great statement to start the season for. You're smiling.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I'm excited for that game. Just because I remember last season that it wasn't the first game of the season last year, but that Chargers game was a big game in terms of the outcome of the season. So with it being week one this year, it being a divisional game, that there's no better time to get off to a good start for those guys than to go and get that divisional win week one. So like you said, I think they're ready. I think they're excited, and that's going to be a statement game for them for sure.
I agree. All right, everybody. From Allegiant Stadium, I'm Hondo Carpenter, your Sports Illustrated beat writer covering the Las Vegas Raiders. This guy right here, Zeke Trezevant, is my assistant beat writer. Internet's been spotty tonight, so if the video is a little slow, it's not on us. We're at Allegiant Stadium. We'd think we would have great internet here, but we appreciate you. We're going to be back with you again tomorrow. Practice is tomorrow night. So remember that we won't even get to tape a podcast until probably sometime around 11 o'clock Eastern. So, no, not even that, probably close to midnight Eastern, but we're going to bring one to you. We'll bring you lots of coverage, lots of videos from the locker room. Zeke, I've missed you. It's been a couple weeks. We haven't had you on since training camp started, and I missed my buddy.
Hey man, I missed you too. I've missed the podcast. I'm excited for another season, man. I wish I could put into words how excited I am, but it's going to be a good one. I've got a good feeling about this season.
All right, before we go, I want to give you public praise. Seems like I'm always doing this, but you have worked your tail off and you have been diligent and you've done a great job. And now another promotion and doing well at Sports Illustrated. Now you are just doing fantastic. We're so proud of you. And about 6 or 8 weeks ago, we talked about you having a promotion, and bam, already I think this is your fourth in less than a year working for us. You're just killing it. You're doing a great job, and I'm proud to be your boss, but I'm more proud to be your friend. Great husband, great dad, great coworker, and a great guy. Congratulations on your promotion and a significant raise.
Yes, sir. And more than
That's
anything,
always good.
yeah, listen, thank you for that. And more than anything, thank you for the opportunity. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I feel like that's all we can ever really ask for in life is an opportunity. And then what you do with it is on you. So thank you for the opportunity. It's an opportunity a lot of people don't get. So I'm more than grateful for it. And I just want to keep taking the ball and running with it. So, I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be with SI. I'm proud of you. And I just want to keep on making you proud. So thank you again.
Well, you do. And in the words of Jerry Maguire, can I just get one thing out of you? I want to hear you say, I love fat white people.
Hondo, come on, man, come on. I thought you were going to say, show me. You wanted me to say, show me the money. I thought that's what you were going to say.
But now that you got a raise, maybe you can buy me lunch. But anyways, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. And you know what? For anybody that's offended by that, just get a life. We are good friends, and I would not have been offended at that at all. I thought it was really funny. Without you, who would I have teaching me pop culture?
Hey, that's one
And
of
literally
the highlights for me. It's teaching you, is helping you learn pop culture.
I literally told Zeke tonight about this great entertainer who I've seen a few times on TV who's hilarious. His name is Flavor Flav. I said it was Flav, and somebody told me no, it's Flav, Flav. So Favor Flav, and he wears these big, huge clocks as a necklace. So I'm telling Zeke about it, and he looks at me like my dad used to look at me, and he just goes, "He's been popular for a couple of decades." So thanks for bursting my bubble, Zeke.
Listen, I'm just here to help. I'm just here to help. Hondo was telling me about this new rapper that he had learned about, and I'm like, okay, well, who is he? Thinking like, hey, it's a new rapper that he said. And Hondo, so it is Flavor Flav in terms of pronunciation, but in terms of how you write it, you write it like Flav, Flav. So it is Flavor Flav, though. So yes, but yeah, good times, man. I'm glad I can help with pop culture a little bit.
Well, I knew the guy was an actor because I met him years ago in Columbus, Ohio, at a Michigan State Buckeye basketball game. But I didn't know he was a rapper. I just thought he had become a rapper recently.
Yeah, no, he's a well-known rapper slash hype man for one of the, I would argue, one.
All right, we lost Zeke there, so we lost him. But anyways, I want to just say full out. If any of his if any of his words are controversial in his raps. I've not heard any of those. So if he says anything that's controversial, I disavow it. But what I've heard, I like. So thanks, Zeke. Good to talk to you, bud.
Likewise, good talking to you as well, Hondo.
I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Yes, sir. See you soon.